Welcome to the Purpose Chasers podcast, where those who refuse to let odds or naysayers stand in their way come to chase and catch their true calling. I'm your host, Mark Crandall. In each episode, we shine a spotlight on artists and musicians who dare to dream bigger. You'll hear the real-world tactical moves these Purpose Chasers have taken to carve out their legacies, and I'll break down the marketing strategies you can swipe and implement today. Let's dive in and start chasing our purpose. Don't forget to leave a follow on Spotify or wherever you stream from. Let's dive into this episode.
Welcome back, Purpose Chasers, to this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. I have a man on the show today, Mr. Marcus Anderson. I want to say his middle name, and I'm going to also rabbit hole just a bit. So Marcus Aurelius Anderson. Marcus, do you know that for 8-9 months, like that's a new number, 8 or 9 months of my wife's pregnancy, wanted to deeply, people think I'm joking, wanted to name my son Mark Spartacus. She wouldn't let me.
Why?
I don't know. Fun fact for you Purpose Chasers that don't know that. If it were left to me, you would be dealing with baby Spartacus. No middle name, because you don't need one when your name's Spartacus. So his name would have been Spartacus Crandall. So I met Marcus through Mr. Justin Schenk at Podfest, and Podfest was an interesting event, but we won't get into that. There was some strange cats up in there and some good people. And I was thinking about it this morning as I was doing my meditation, and I was thinking about Podfest and my interactions with Marcus. And what I thought about was, like, we had four meals together at that event.
Yep.
So I don't know if that means anything to you listening, but I had shared 4 meals, and I think we had, I don't even know, maybe 12 meals at the event. I shared 4 of them. I broke bread 4 times with this man. He is a brother from another mother. He comes from very, very similar past as I do, in the sense of overcoming adversity. He wrote a book about overcoming adversity. He speaks about overcoming adversity. He has a TEDx talk about overcoming adversity. And we share the same solution, the same message. Different men, but man, I'm very, very grateful to bring you on the Purpose Chasers podcast and allow my audience an opportunity to hear from you and how you overcame what you have and how you've built what you've built, and ... what your plans are to get to where you're going. Marcus, thanks for coming on, brother.
Brother, thank you for having me. It's an honor. It was an honor to break bread with you each time. It's like we got deeper and learned more, and getting to hang out with you and Justin. I mean, Justin's amazing. That guy, I love him like crazy. Getting to spend time with Adam, and then, like you said, all the other people that we got to spend time with, and even ever since then, because it was an interesting timing of Podfest, wasn't it? It was sort of that transition.
Yeah, it was literally right before Corona. And but it was at the time when I mean, I remember, because you remember I tried to shake JV's hand and he did the fist bump, and in my head, I'm like, dude, this dude hates me. Like, what's wrong with you? You don't not shake another man's hand. And then literally after Podfest, after Justin and I went to Disneyland, right, which is probably the place you don't want to go. We come home, and then all of a sudden it's like coronavirus, COVID-19, lockdown. And now everyone's been, except for the people that are protesting, idiots, about the virus, are locked in their houses. So yeah, it was a really interesting time. I don't think any of us knew what was going on in the world at the time, but I don't think much has changed for you or I. So let's get into it, because I feel like we're gonna end up going into some good places in this interview. Marcus, what led you what led you to where you are today? Like this is such a loaded softball question, but like what created the man that I know today? And I would also love you to share some of your introspection on martial arts, and because, I'm a practitioner and I love the disciplines of it. And there's two things that I don't think will humble a man or a woman quicker than there's nothing that'll humble a man or a woman quicker than martial arts and CrossFit.
Agreed.
Like you can only get so far without technique and discipline in both of those arts. So softball question, Marcus, what led you to where you are today?
I think you already touched on it. For me, I started doing martial arts when I was 11. Parents were divorced when I was 8. So having martial arts was nice because it gave me, and it was traditional martial arts. So it may not be, as effective as some of like Muay Thai or like Paralyzed, but I still learned that discipline, that humility, that honor, that respect, the importance of technique so that you don't get hurt in the process. And all of those tenets really led me to other things. Didn't get my black belt until I was 18. So that was what really gave me a lot of that humility. Like a lot of people, wasn't sure what I wanted to do when I got out of school. I thought I wanted to go in the FBI. I wanted to go in the CIA. I wanted to be a PhD in philosophy. So I had all these ideas, but martial arts has always been a constant, and I've been doing them. I'm 48 now, and I've been doing the martial arts the entire time in some way, shape, or form. I'm an instructor under Bruce Lee's protege, Guru Dana Nosanto. Guru Nosanto makes us be a truly multifaceted martial artist. So you learn jujitsu, you learn shoot fighting, you learn Muay Thai, Paralyzed, you learn Paralyzed Cambodian boxing, you learn Filipino martial arts, which encompasses Kali, Silat, which encompasses weapons, sticks, knives, swords, Bruce Lee's martial art, Jeet Kune Do, of course, Wing Chun, all these disciplines, so that you can find the thing that works for you. I remember Guru Nosanto told me one time, he said, he wants me to learn all these different ways to disarm a blade. And I was like, well, Guru, these may not work for me. He's like, yeah, but you're an instructor. So these 2 may work for you. These other 4 may not. And these other 2 may not at all, but they may work for other people. So it's important for you to be able to absorb that information. So that idea of humility and trying to absorb whatever is useful has always been in my life. I was in Atlanta when I was 38. I had been married for a little while. I was in chiropractic school at the time, to kind of fast forward a little bit for everybody. Got divorced, and I blamed myself for my marriage falling apart because I was in 25 hours of doctorate level chiropractic courses, and I was also bartending 50 hours a week because I was burning the candle at both ends, getting only a few hours of sleep. Classic kind of entrepreneurial mentality, because I wanted to bust through the next year and a half to get to that place where I could be on the other side, have my doctorate, open my practice, and start serving. But as life happens, there's what we hope will happen, there's what we plan will happen, and then there's what actually happens. So for me, I got divorced, and then my great uncle, who was a big male role model for me when I was younger, when my parents were divorced, he was in special forces, he was in Vietnam, he was in long range reconnaissance, he was a Green Beret, and then he passed not long after that. So for me, being divorced was like the lowest of low, and then him passing was an additional, kick in the teeth. I was a pallbearer for him, and in that time, I got to hear man after man eulogize him. A full bird colonel came up and eulogized him. Another man talked about his valor in combat. 21 gun salute. I'm a pallbearer for all these things. And then when they start playing taps and they start folding up the flag, and I'm sitting next to my great aunt, and I'm supposed to be there for her. I'm sorry, to be strong. And when they hand her the flag and they say, "Thank you for your sacrifice. We're sorry for your loss," I just fell apart. So here I am trying to be strong and stoic. And from what I understand, she was the one that was like kind of holding me and consoling me. I realized at that moment that I'd always wanted to serve in the military. And like everybody else, like anything else in our dreams, I'd always try to wait for the perfect time. I always put it off. And I went and talked to a recruiter that next week to see if I could get in at 38. And I walk in, I say, what's the age limit? They say 35. And I said, okay. I turn around. They say, how old are you? And I said, 38. The recruiter's like, well, come back and talk to me. And I was just like, listen, man, don't waste my fucking time. If this is not going to happen, don't even toy with my emotions. He asked about the motivation behind it. I told him what I told you. He asked me if I was smart. And I was like, well, I don't know. I'm talking to a recruiter at 38 years old. Do I sound fucking smart to you? But the idea was this idea of, could I take an ASVAB? How well would I do? I took the ASVAB. I crushed it because I already have a degree in human biology. I was already at doctorate level courses. He's like, you did great on that. He asked me if I was in good shape. I took a PT test. I maxed it out for my age group. PT is your physical component. So he's like, okay, you're intelligent, you're in great shape, you're a natural leader. He's like, you're what we want in the Army, and you can do whatever you want because your test scores are so high. You can choose whatever job you want. I was like, I already know what job I want. He's like, okay, well, what do you want to do? Infantry. He starts laughing and he says, you don't get it, Anderson. You can do whatever you want. And I said, Sergeant, you don't get it. This is what I want. And if I don't get this, then I'm just going to walk out the door. So we go back and forth for a little bit. And finally, he just signs the age waiver and slides it over. And he's like, hey, man, it's your life. And then 6 months later, I'm getting out the bus at infantry school at Fort Benning, getting yelled at by guys that are younger than me and competing against guys that are half my age. But I really needed that. I needed that immersion into like true adversity. The hardest part for all of us is the making the decision part. And once we've actually committed 100%, not half-heartedly, it's all about execution. And for me, I didn't have a choice. Once I signed the waiver and had 6 months to get in shape so that I didn't get broke off in the actual training, that's what I needed. I needed a deadline. And that's when, for me, I really started learning even more about what I was capable of. And then there was even more sort of adversity in store for me, which of course I had no idea, but it was a good litmus test for me.
I still remember I was in grad school and I got a call from a Marine recruiter because I had been on their list. I was supposed to go after high school and I just could not get sober. I could not get my shit together. And he took me out. This one recruiter took me out to 3 different meals. And the third meal, I was like, man, just stop buying me dinner. And he's like, why? I'm like, I can't do it. I want to serve, but I can't get sober. So they called me when I was in grad school. And they asked if I wanted to come down and talk to a recruiter. And I said, well, I have a trick question for you. And they said, what? And I said, can a felon enlist? They're like, no, you can't. And I was like, is there any workaround? And they're like, no, there's no. He said, what are the felonies? And I told him, he's like, no. So I wanted to as well. I wanted to at 18 years old, I wanted to go in and instead, I went to the other military called prison. So
they're very similar.
Yeah, I learned how to fall in line, just a little bit different. So, at what point in your life did you learn about overcoming adversity? I mean, outside of your great uncle, and begin to live the path that you are today? Because I mean, I just got to say it. I mean, my audience knows this. I'm very selective about who I have on the podcast, and usually almost in all cases, it's individuals that I have a heart connection with, which is also very selective, right? So I'm very, very selective, and it's not even me, it's my intuition. So, you know, if you come from where I came from, like my gut and mind are constantly going good, bad, no, 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 yes, no, 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 yes, right? I can smell bullshit from 1.5 miles away. Not even 1 mile away, 1.5 miles. So what got you on this path?
It's interesting. Again, martial arts, that philosophy is kind of baked into my existence. Having the name Marcus Aurelius, whether you want to use it or not, it's impossible to live up to the name, but it pushes you to actually learn more about that. So in all these kind of philosophies, in Zen and Taoism and Buddhism and Stoicism, there is that idea that adversity is a gift. I never heard it put that way, but that's what the lesson was. Like you said, if we're in Muay Thai, if you and I are sparring and you see me dropping my hand and you punch me in the face because I dropped my guard, I can't be mad at you. That's not your fault. You're doing what you're supposed to do. What I'm supposed to do is keep my hand up so I don't get knocked out or so I don't get caught, right? So adversity is a gift in that it teaches us what we need. It shows us glaringly, without any hesitation, without pulling any punches, literally, where we are falling down, where the chinks in the armor are. And then that does one of two things. Either you hit something hard or get hit by something hard, and you either put your fingers in your ears and act like it didn't happen and try to look away from it, or you can have the humility and say, okay, I just almost got knocked the fuck out. What can I learn from this? Because if you hit me when we're sparring, that's one thing. And the only thing that's really hurt is maybe my jaw for a few days and my ego. But if I don't look at that lesson and untangle it, if I'm on the street and I have to defend myself or my family or somebody that can't defend themselves, and I'm doing the same thing, the stakes are much higher. So there's a lot more riding on that. So every decision that we make either gets us closer to being the best version of ourselves in whatever that arena is, or it pushes us further away. So like you were saying, this idea of adversity and the universal concept of it, it bleeds into everything that we do. So if I'm an entrepreneur and I don't want to learn how to sell properly, or I don't want to know who my audience is, or I don't want to embrace something that I'm not good at, then that's my limitation. And as entrepreneurs, I can either hire a person who's good at it that can do it for me, or I can act like that doesn't exist and then let that stifle my capacity to reach people and truly do the thing that I claim that I'm trying to do, which is help as many people as I can. So that's what I want people to sort of understand, that it can be physical, it can be emotional, it can be spiritual, it can be psychological, but you have to look at adversity as a teacher. You have to look at it as a lifelong companion. Adversity is a natural law like gravity. It doesn't care about your opinion. And just like in CrossFit, if you're trying to clean that weight and your technique is off, it's only a matter of time. It can only be 5 pounds of differential before you get hurt. And now all of a sudden the stakes again are much higher. And now because you didn't have the discipline, the humility, the patience to do the right thing at the right time, now as you scale it up, it becomes a limitation, it becomes an injury, it becomes a liability. So that's kind of where it came together for me. And I saw those coming together all the time. That was the big aha moment for me, was when I was in the military and I got injured. And that's when I was really forced to look at it, because for a lot of us, it's easy for us to act like something isn't there, to act like this limitation is not a big deal, but eventually it comes to roost. And that's why it's so important to get in front of it now with our lives, our business, our relationships, our emotions.
Million different directions I want to go right there, but what keeps standing out to me, I want to hear your thoughts on this. What keeps standing out to me is, when you're talking about adversity and if you think about, Muay Thai, if you will, which is Thai kickboxing. If you think about it, and I'm thinking, and I think about it, and I'm like going back and replaying a whole bunch of martial art movies, or like, mixed martial arts fights, or even time sparring in the gym. And you think about it, and like, I know that if I were to spar you and if I were to catch you, I wouldn't be able to actually know that I caught you, right? Because you're so trained and developed into keeping your emotions in check and keeping your breathing in check. But I can think of this one kid in my gym, back in New Hampshire, and I poked him in sparring, and I hit him in the ribs. I hit him in the ribs, and I hit him in the ribs, and I got him to drop, and I hit him with an uppercut, and he lost his shit. And I just started laughing in my head. And I think about it in life, in business, that's why I love the comparison of mixed martial arts and or CrossFit, because they will humble you. Like, you think about it in a jiu-jitsu match, if you're mounted and that the submission's coming, if you start to spaz out and you don't keep your emotions in check, that submission's probably going to come a lot quicker, or another one, right? So it's just like, I think about it in business. And rookie entrepreneurs, right? They get like, oh my God, this is about to happen. Oh my God, this is going to be great. And we're going to do this and we're going to do that. And we're going to, and then they go buy a Rolex or they go do whatever they do because it's coming. And what I've found to be the most beneficial tool for me is trying to keep my emotions in check and staying grounded and present and like, okay, yeah, okay. Well, what's next? So I think about that. And I was literally, as you were saying it, I was like thinking about it, like how I could get you to drop your hands. I was like, well, he's been training forever. It's going to take some work. It's going to take some strategy. It's probably going to take some luck, right? Maybe I can get away with something dirty that the ref doesn't see, right? To get it to drop. But if I were to punch you and catch you, let's say in the chin or the, wherever, in the eye or the nose, like whatever it is, to stun you, to knock you back, the worst thing that you can do in martial arts or in life is to exert emotion and raise up and raise your breathing and kind of lose control. What's your experience? I want to transition now. What's your experience been in business with keeping your emotions in check? And how do you think your training in martial arts and in the military led to that? And also, I just got to say this before I do that. My interviewing skills wanted to dive into you getting injured in the military, right? That's where I wanted to go. But then as I started to think about it, I'm like, I bet Marcus talks about that every time he podcasts. Like, I want to really try to get this interview to somewhere that you haven't gone. So you overcame the adversity, you quit playing the victim around that. And my mind went, okay, so let me just ask this question before we get into business. So this is the thought that came up for me. At any time in you getting injured in the military, did your mind go, maybe I shouldn't have enrolled at 38 years old? Maybe they were right.
When, yeah, there was absolutely a point in time for me when, for the people that don't know, I got paralyzed from the neck down when I was training to deploy in 2012. And I went through the classic 5, stages of acceptance. I went through denial at first. After the surgery, I died on the operating table twice during the surgery. And the doctor's like, the good thing is you get to live to tell the tale. The bad news is this is what you're left with. And so as a soldier, and I'm 38 at this time, right? So I'm sorry, I joined at 38. I was almost 40 at that time. So as a soldier, you had this arrogance, this unbeatable bulletproof mentality, because you have to have it if you're getting ready to go into combat. And I was like, well, he already told me I died, so this walking thing shouldn't be a big deal. Using my hands again shouldn't be a big deal. But after a week of that, then it was like, nothing's changed. Okay, now this is real. And that's when I went through the anger component. And then when I was depressed, I was like, this is the universe's way of just bitch slapping me. It's like, I fucked up somewhere in my life. There's something that I did wrong. Like, I deserve this somehow according to the universe, which made me even more angry because now I was trying to figure out why was this going on. And then, see, I never should have joined. See, I should have just gone to college like everybody else was doing. I should have already got this, house and this home and been married and had kids. This is what I should have done. So it was easy for me to stay in that victim mentality. It was easy for me to ask why. And if anybody's ever been there before, you'll understand, hopefully, that you recognize this. And if you're in it right now, I hope you recognize it, that, man, if you're asking why all the time and you're not taking action and you're not trying to control the stuff that you can't control, you will be victimized in every way for the rest of your life. You will wait for something political to victimize you and be offended by. You'll wait for something, in business. You'll wait for something in your life. You wait for somebody to offend you by the way that they look, they act, they speak. And the people that are offended easily should be offended more often, in my mind, because that means they don't have that thickened skin. That means they don't have the ability to see something, absorb what they can from it, or decide that that's not what they need and then just pull away from it. So for me, I did feel like a victim for a long time. And for months lying in that bed, I was just livid. I was angry at everyone. But what I was doing was projecting my own anger and my own disappointment about what I hadn't done all the stuff I taken for granted, all the stuff I assumed that I would always have. They say you don't know what you got till it's gone, but that's not true. We know what we have. We just assume that we will always have it. So even in the time of right now, this is a good way for us to remember that, yeah, not everything is permanent. Everything is temporary in some way, shape, or form. So if you're going through hardship now, you're going to get through it. And if things are going good now, go ahead and plan for the famine during the feast. Don't wait to fall into the river to decide that that's when you need to learn to swim. So for me, that's what I had done. I played the victim for a long time. And then when adversity pushes into you and you try to push back and you can't win, and then you do it over and over again, and it's the definition of insanity, that's when I was like, okay, well, pushing against this is not helping, and it's futile anyway. So I'm going to lean into this. This is pushing me some direction. So if you use a jujitsu mentality, I went ahead and just tapped. I gave in. I went with it. I surrendered. But in that surrender is when I was able to learn, okay, this is what I'm missing. I wanted desperately to learn how to walk again over here. But the stuff that was in front of me, I was trying to skip over. I was trying to skip over lack of humility, at least in my mind. I was trying to skip over the fact that I wasn't being truly grateful. I was trying to skip over all the shit that I'd taken for granted. And once I started doing those things and like unraveling each of those things one by one, it eventually led to this ancillary idea of learning to walk again and to recover. But I believe, I know that had I not done that other work at that time, had I not taken those months to really do the deep dive and unravel everything from the trauma of the divorce as a little boy, to the trauma of my own divorce, to the trauma of losing somebody close to me, to the trauma of the physicality of what was going on, had I not done that, I wouldn't be here talking to you today.
Yeah. And man, so again, a million things come up for me, but the one that just keeps coming to me is lean in. So many people are terrified to lean in, and I just want to kind of define what you mean by that, because I talk about it a lot. When he's talking about leaning in, he's talking about the introspective work that it takes to actually learn from every situation. And you know, my experience with my past is every shitty situation and every shitty experience that I've had, every traumatic experience has built me into the man that I am today, which is an unstoppable force. But it took the leaning in to get there, and it took the introspective work. And I've been offending people on the regular with COVID-19. Okay, so you lost your job. What opportunities are you not seeing because you're focused on the fact that you lost your job, right? And you look at what I'm like, really, it's kind of messed up, but I'm really looking at the opportunity that's been presented for the world with everything that's going on, in the sense that as humans, we seek to distract ourselves and take the focus off the lean in that you just discussed and the introspective work that you just outlined. Right. Well, guess what? COVID-19 took all that fucking shit from us. Now you have Tiger King, right? Which I refuse to watch because I don't have time for that shit. Have you watched it?
I've watched some of it. He's from Oklahoma, so it's
he's your boy.
He's not my boy. But everybody around here is like, this Tiger King, you gotta check that thing out. What you dangle camshaft? And I was like, what is this all about? It's a train wreck. But that's why everybody loves it right now, because they want that distraction.
They need the distraction, right? They need it. And if you also take a look at the online marketing space right now, a lot of the players that were marketing some bullshit before are gone.
Yep.
Why? Because the only way that you're going to make a sale right now is through authenticity, through real shit. And a lot of people can't get real. And so it's a really, really, I mean, it's an unfortunate time or a fortunate time, and an opportunity to lean in.
That's exactly it. The thing is, it's impossible to see the gift in your adversity when you're in the heat of it. It just is. If you're getting your ass whooped very few people had the presence of mind to be in the fray and say, man, in 3 months, in 3 hours, in 3 days, I'm going to be so grateful for this. I'm going to learn so much. But if you can have that mentality affixed to you now, even if you don't have the luxury of being able to have access to it in the middle of it, hopefully you have that ability to reflect later. But what I found is, and it just like, that's why I had you on my podcast. On the Epic Achiever podcast, I always find these people that are just amazing at what they do, but they all, every single one of them, my experience and just like yours, when you've been through adversity, it either defines you and makes you level up and makes you stronger, or that becomes your ceiling emotionally, physically, financially, right? And the people that get stuck there are the ones that like to turn adversity into a competition. Yeah, I had a rough day. Well, you had a rough day. Well, listen to my day. And then they want to out adversity you, or they want to one up you, or they want to act like it's a competition. It's like, man, you guys are bleeding into the wrong thing. They're leaning into the wrong thing. They need to understand that adversity is trying to teach you something. And for most of us, we hit hardship and then we try to get away from it as much as we can. But for what you went through, what I went through, we were forced to sit there and live with it day after day, understand it, know that it was there. We didn't act like it wasn't there. We didn't put our fingers in our ears or act like it was an elephant in the room and tiptoe around it. We learned to coexist with it. And we learned that I can look it in the eye and I can be aware out of it without being afraid of it. I can look adversity and hardship in the eye and say, I see you, but you're not going to fucking stop what I'm doing. In fact, if you push back against me, that is my indication that I'm on the right track. That is my true north. Adversity is the thing that I seek out now in every way, shape, or form. So, like you said, especially in the time they're in currently, this is what I was made for. You know, if you want to talk about positioning, for the last 5 years, I've been banging this drum about adversity being a gift. And I've had people come at me sideways. They're like, how can you fucking say that? How is adversity a gift? You haven't been through anything if you think that adversity is a gift, which tells me that that person hasn't been through anything, or they're currently going through something and they're in that place where they can't see the forest from the trees. Having said that, this is what allows me to actually help people with what I'm doing now. And a lot of people were like, oh, well, I haven't been through any hardship in my life. It's hard for me to see adversity as a gift. But I think that we're going to see in the next year or two, people will look back on this and say, damn, I learned a lot from that. There was a lot of stuff that was really exposed. Adversity doesn't show you what you are. It reveals what you are not. It strips away all the shit. And it gets down to what you really, really are. And that's why, like you were saying, that's why people don't want to see what they're actually made of. That's why they don't want to lean in, because they're afraid. They're scared. They aren't afraid of the fear. They're afraid of what the fear will reveal about them, because they don't want to look at what they are. And I want everybody to listen. We all feel that way. There is something about all of us that we are afraid of, that we don't like, that there's some little secret, or there's some little hardship, or there's something that's happened to you. People, I want you to understand, that's where the magic is. That's where your special power is, whatever you want to call it. If you can lean into that, it will, and follow it back to where the source is, you will learn so much about yourself. You will be so much stronger. You will be able to see it in other people just like you, where you can smell the bullshit a mile and a half away. And now you will have the skill set that will serve you in a million different arenas if you choose to do the work and embrace it now. Am I saying that you have to go to jail or you have to be paralyzed? No. Am I saying that you can find the thing that you're trying to do?
We would also recommend that you don't do those two things.
Yeah. I would say if you can listen to us, you can glean 90% of the information without going through it. But the thing is, there's something right now, like if you're, whatever you're doing in your life, there's something in your life that you're trying to avoid. And the advice that you're trying to find, the information that you so seek, is in that adversity that you're avoiding right now, period. So be humble, see this as an opportunity, do Bruce Lee's mentality, absorb what is useful, discard what is useless, add what is specifically your own, and understand that this is your time to reflect, to learn. In the military, whenever we have a ceasefire, we call it a reload. We don't really call it a ceasefire. We're actually loading back up. We're getting refit. We're getting water. We're getting food. And we're looking at the next target of opportunity. And right now, for everybody, this is what they should be doing. And whether that be in business, pivoting, whether that be doing some self-development, whether that means, you know what, get your ass off the couch and actually go for a walk. This is everybody's time to look back at their lives really hard and see, okay, there is no normal now. There is no old normal. We're not going to go back to that. you need to ask yourself, what do you want your new normal to be? What would you change? And then start outlining that stuff right now and taking action, because everybody's waiting for somebody to tell them that it's okay to do something. They're waiting to get permission. And I want everybody to know, did you ask for permission to do what you're doing, Mark?
Fuck no.
No. And if you had, would you get there?
No.
And do you care about getting recognition or accolades from anybody? You didn't start getting that until after you were already at a place that you didn't even matter to you, right?
Yeah. And that stuff, like, even though I thought at certain points in business, and still can and probably will think later, that that's what I'm seeking, that actually doesn't fill anything inside. And when you were sharing that, I remember I like specifically thought about this keynote that I did in Florida, and it was for foster youth. And there was a bunch of foster, staff, social workers, therapists, people of my world. And I gave my talk, and only one was one really negative review. And this lady said that I painted a picture of false hope for the youth, and that if I truly knew the adversity that they came from, I would have changed my talk. And I'm like, lady, did you not listen to me? I am them. I came from where they are. And I thought, I was just thinking about that. And for those of you purpose chasers that are listening, and you're wondering, like, well, how does this apply to me? The only thing that separates Marcus and I from potentially where you're at, there's only one separator. And I talk about this over and over and over again. That's action. There's only one way to disprove your mind, and that is taking the actions to disprove your mind. I have never found another way. You think about it, whether it's Marcus joining the military, or, me, applying for that job to work for the state with 6 felonies on my record. Like, it was the fear, and the fear cripples people. And we're in a time right now of isolation, of solitude, of opportunity to lead in, with a lot of change in the world. And I really loved what you said, because I started to think about my business and what I'm doing right now. And I'm reloading my armor, and I'm shining my gun, right? I'm cleaning my gun right now, if you think about it, because like I have, the 6 steps of the no-sell close, and that I'm finally launching, right? And I have the Purpose Chasers Academy, which will be launched at the release of this episode, which is going to be on, like, anyone can go through it at any time. That I'm not going to be coaching it anymore, hands-on. And if you're out there in the Purpose Chasers land, that's what I call listening to the podcast, Purpose Chasers land. I don't know why I just said that. Actually, it sounds really good. Maybe that'll be a thing. And you're listening to this, like, why have you not started that book? Why have you not done some research on launching that business? Why the fuck are you watching Tiger King and wasting the opportunity that you have to reload your gun, or, really, really, this is an opportunity. So I keep thinking about this, man. I'm just going to say it. It might offend some people, and that's okay. Millionaires are created on the other side of controversy. And every single crisis that's ever hit our world, on the other side of it, the individuals that shine are the individuals that spent that time thinking about how they could bring more value to the world, and how they could set the foundation up for the other side. What ways are you currently doing that? Because I know you're a mover and a shaker, just like I am. And, we got on this call, and I'm like, how are things? You're like, I'm slammed. You said, how are you? I'm like, dude, I'm slammed.
No.
So what actions are you taking?
Well, and just like you were saying, it's about taking action. So for me, I'm currently recording my audiobook, which people have been asking me to do for a long time, but I've always had an excuse not to do it because I've been traveling and doing stuff. It's like time to put up or shut up. And then because I've been teaching this material for so long, that material that I put in the book is going to be even more robust. I wanted to look almost the way Goggins did with his book, Can't Hurt Me, where you have all this content, all this pragmatic stuff you can put together. And then as I've been talking to you about putting together my course to help more people, you and I were talking about how when this happened, people were coming out of the woodwork trying to, quote unquote, help people, but they're actually trying to pitch them a bullshit product or trying to charge a lot of money for something. And frankly, let's be honest, they're not really even qualified to have the opinion or talk about the thing that they're trying to quote unquote sell people. But people like you and I that have been authentic, people like you and I that have been that constant hum of what we do, that's why we're able to do what we're doing now. That's why people want this. That's why people are in demand. So for me, even before all this got bigger, I got in front of it and I was giving away free stuff, just like what you're doing, where you're helping people because you want to help people, not because you're trying to take advantage of them and sell them on fear, because I know that's what people need. And for better or for worse, you and I are some of the most qualified people to talk about this. And that's why we have to stand up. That's why we don't have the luxury of standing in front of a rented Lambo and trying to make people think that, we're multi-billionaires and that they can do it too if they get on my Instagram account of all my bot followers. That's not what it's about.
Punch me in the face if you ever see me doing that. Please, Marcus, will you fly to my house? I'll cover your ticket. Punch me right in the mouth. I can't stand that. And yes, I've done very, very well in business as a result of consistently taking action, being open to learn, and being willing to pay to learn from others, right? So I'm not scared to invest in myself and my business. I drive a 2015 Subaru, right? But
paid off, right?
No, it's not, because the interest rate's so low. It just doesn't make any sense. That's another conversation. I'm trying to keep as much liquid as I can for the opportunities on the other side of this. Everything's going to be on BOGO, but I'm going to get a buy one, get one house on the other side. And it's messed up to
250,000 back. Yep.
Yeah. So that's another story. I'm trying to get as much liquid or have as much liquid as I possibly can on the other side of this. But so let's get into it. So I want to get into what I really want to talk to you about, and what the awakening that I'm having. I got to say, I'm really, really connected in this interview. So I appreciate you. I just wanted to say that. A lot of times in interviews, I go and I ask really, really good questions, and this just feels more like a conversation. A lot of individuals in the Purpose Chasers community, as a result of COVID-19, want to become entrepreneurs. They're talking about launching coaching practices, and I have beliefs around that, and some of which I may share or not, and I'm sure you do as well. And there are a lot of unqualified people, and there are a lot of people that want to do things that they're not qualified and they don't have the training to do. And you need to get the training if you want the confidence to charge what it is you want to charge. So I just recorded a video on that, right? There's only one way to increase your prices, and that's to gain confidence, right? I don't know another way. But you do a lot of, I would say, high-end, high-level business consulting. I want to talk about that a little bit. For one, how did you get into it? Let's start there. How did you get into doing what you're doing?
So for me, when I got out of the military, I recovered. I got into coaching. I kind of fell into it. I was teaching martial arts again as an instructor, and I started getting one-on-one students that wanted to learn. Some of those students were in a very high tax bracket. They owned real estate, multimillionaires in Oklahoma. One of them, by chance, made a comment. He would take me out to lunch after we would do instruction, private lessons. And I was invariably able to take what we had just learned in the martial arts or a philosophy and show him how to apply it to his business or his relationship or his investments. He's like, I got a business coach I'm paying $1,500 a month to that's supposed to be helping me with this stuff, and you're giving me more value than he is. I was like, just write me a check. I was being a smart ass, right? And he goes out, fires that guy, writes me a check for 6 months of training. And he's like, so how do you want to do this? And that was the first step to help me understand that that knowledge, all those years of that experience was helping me right then and there. He gave me more people that were in that tax bracket that lived speaking and such. But for me, it really was based on what we're doing now, how you and I met, finding people in person, a community of people that are already there, helping those people from a place of true altruistic mentality, not like, hey, what can I get from you? And it takes time. Again, I've been doing this for a few years now, right? So you have to be willing to look long-term. And just like what you and I were saying before, Tim Ferriss was talking about how he was able to build his network was because he was very selective about who he spoke to. And he wanted to think about having a relationship with that person from a business and personal standpoint for at least 10 years. So that makes you much more selective. So when it came time for me to write a book and it took me 1.5 years to do it, it sucked. It was brutal for me. It was even more self-introspection. It was me, but it was even more cathartic. But that in the timeline is not very long. And then what you're able to do with that book, just like what you've been able to do with your book, it's amazing how far reaching that is. So doing those things, doing the hard work now, and actually doing the right thing, that conversation that you had 6 months ago with somebody in person at an event or on the phone, that's what sows the seed. And now it grows. And now because you did the right thing, how many times have we had people that have reached out to us that have followed all of our content online, don't like anything, don't comment on anything, and then out of the blue email you, hey,
Dude, I had a lady that I was on a call with Friday. It happens all the time. Friday from British Columbia.
Right.
Been listening to the podcast for over a year.
That's it.
Wants to join my program and wants. I'm like, what? Who are you and where did you come from?
That's it.
I'm in Canada, eh? I've been listening to Purpose Chasers for a minute. You dropped an episode about COVID-19. It really shook my world. How do I pay you? Essentially, I'm like, what?
That's it. And like you say, I mean, people will all the stuff that we're doing, that's what we're supposed to be doing. If everything that we do is in line and it just continues to hit that same note and resonates with people, eventually they come to you because they realize they can trust you, that you know what the hell you're talking about. And just like with you, just like with this interview, that's why I had you on my show, because now all those people will get to hear about you. They see what you do. They know what you're capable of. They know what your results are because you've done it over and over again. It's the same thing for me. So for me, word of mouth in person is what's allowed me to get to the very, very high levels. And just like you said, not being afraid to invest, being in Arete, being involved with the Arete Syndicate and those people, it costs money to be there. But
I got to say this. So since talking to you at the event, I started following them. So I'll be transparent to you. I've been looking at, there's 3 different masterminds that I've been looking at because I need to level up my circle of influence, right? And it's not try to say this humbly, like this isn't an ego thing, but I've outgrown a lot of people that were around me. Like my mindset has grown and expanded, and I'm tired of walking in the room and feeling like there's no one to chase. And I want the next room I get into, I want to be chasing for a while, right? That's why I have the coach that I have, like Anthony, because dude, I got some work to do to get to where he's at. And every time I think I'm getting closer, he drops a viral video or he does something. I'm like, what, dude, stop. But yeah, so I've been checking them out because there's, like I said, there's 3 masterminds that I've been looking into, and they're all, well, I think one's 20 grand and the other 2 are 25. So the other side of COVID, I'm going to be making a move. But yeah, I've been checking them out. Maybe would even love to talk to you offline about that. So, man, what you said about, like, you know, he just said, where can I write you a check? That's very similar to what happened with me. It wasn't like, I want to be a coach and I want to do, no, I was giving this man some business advice on how to build a relationship and a different avenue that he should take. And he said, very, very similar. I think he was paying $2,500 a month or whatever. And I mean, it gets pricey, right? Like some of these people charge like ridiculous amounts of money. And I'm like, what are you paying for? Right? Because if you're paying a coach right now or a consultant and they're not getting you results that are creating a return on investment, I don't know what you're doing. I wouldn't be still paying Anthony after a year if I wasn't getting return on my investment on the other side of that, right? I wouldn't join a mastermind unless I saw a return on investment. I wouldn't join anything unless I saw a return on investment. So something that you said, I want to ask you this question. how much comparison do you see other people doing? Because I think so many people would view where you're at right now, and a lot of people view where I'm at right now, and they compare where they're at to where I'm at, and it stops them. And I want to share this with you, full authenticity. I was gearing up to do another podcast run, and I just looked at the clock, and we're already at 1 o'clock. So we gotta speed up. I want to respect your time. Man, this conversation just flew, but maybe we'll end on this note, and I'm going to say this to you, Purpose Chasers. We're going to bring Marcus back on. We're going to do a round 2 of this, because we didn't even get to the depths of this conversation. I guess we'll share this and then we'll stop. I was gearing up to do a podcast tour, right? I've done a couple of them. I mean, I've done well over 100 podcasts. And, the other side of the podcast tour is a lot of bigger podcasts. You got to do a swap to get on, right? They want on your platform. And I thought about it, and I was gearing up for it. And I was like, no, I don't want to do that again. I don't care. Right. And it's like, I don't need more work. I don't need more clients. I don't need more things. What's your experience been with that? How often do you pull a high level consulting client in and you find that comparison's stopping them from getting to where they're going?
It happens a lot. And it will blow the mind of people that are listening to us, to Purpose Chasers. There are people that have multi-million-dollar companies, and I know that you work with them as well, where even though they're incredibly successful, they do have some problems that are different. But again, the self-belief, the question, the hesitation, they may not do it as much, but it's still there. It still becomes something where they're saying to themselves, you have a CEO. When I coach somebody, it's out of a place of love and respect, but I also call them on their bullshit and I kick them in the ass and I push, because that's what they're paying me for. So even the CEO who's incredibly successful, they still need that. They still need that person to nudge them. They still want you to talk to their CFO, to their C-suite executives, to give them those ideas that they're missing, to show them and reflect on those blind spots. That's what it comes down to. So yes, they all have similar problems. The only thing between you and I, and even those people and the Purpose Chasers that are listening to us, is, like you said, execution and repetitions and fail execution. That's it. You just try, you fall down, you get back up, you keep going. The first time you learned how to throw a round kick in Muay Thai, it wasn't perfect. But what you do, you just do it thousands of times. And then you get to feel into a groove. And then you saw somebody else do it better. You're like, I want to throw it like that. So that's almost like your coach. And now you throw it with that extension, that follow through. You keep that hand up more when you throw it. And then you watch somebody do it in a fight. You're like, oh, what do they do different? So it's about understanding the tool, the skill set, the repetition, and the ability to continue to learn it. There's nothing new in business. You have a great product. You're qualified to do it. You find people that understand what you have to offer, and they value it enough to pay for it. And then you just get better. And then it just continues to level up. So again, these people at the very high level, it's about doing the right thing for the right reasons for long enough, but then showing them how to push to get to that next level and not compromising, not allowing them to compromise, seeing what they are not able to see yet and believing in them enough to where they start believing in it as well is the key.
You just said nothing's changed in business, and I just picked up the 2 books that I have on my desks, James Allen and Dale Carnegie, old school dudes, like early 1900s stuff. Yep. So Marcus, something just came to me. I want to see if this comes to fruition. I had an intuitive thought to pull you and Mr. Rick Alexander, who's the only person to come on my show multiple times as of this point. He's actually come on 3 times now. I think I want to do an episode with you and him together. Let's see what comes of that. But until next time, and there will be a next time, where can the Purpose Chasers find you and learn more about your work?
Absolutely. They can reach out to me on any of the social media. You can go to marcusaureliusanderson.com, reach out to me on LinkedIn, marcusaureliusanderson.com, Instagram, Facebook, Twitter. If you heard us, if you listened to us and what we said resonated with you, connect to me on LinkedIn. Tell me that you heard me here, and I will connect to you, and I'd be happy to help in any way that I can. Also, the Conscious Millionaire Epic Achiever podcast, which your episode will be out in a couple of months. So they'll be able to hear even more from us in that as well. And that's the one where I have, again, people like you, people like Ed Milet, Jerry Colonna, JP Donnell, just like you were talking about, these people that are at a very high level that are pushing, but the people that are actually able to execute on it and aren't afraid to fall down in the process. That's where you can find me.
Marcus, thank you so much for coming on. I want to respect your time and end there. Purpose Chasers, one thing to keep in mind is the only thing separating you from your dreams is action. Marcus, I will talk to you soon, brother.
See you, brother. Thanks.
That's a wrap on this episode of the Purpose Chasers podcast. If you're ready to take action, don't wait. Head over to thepurposechasers.com to access notes, resources, and a host of other tools to keep you moving forward. And if you want to supercharge your digital presence, visit scaletosaleconsulting.com to partner up with my team and amplify your impact. Let's turn your purpose into your biggest asset. Until next time, keep chasing, keep creating. Your purpose awaits.